Just a couple of minutes to jump on. Welcome, those of you who are prompt at 7 p.m. Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Hope everybody's. So, just want to resize a little. Again, thank you for everyone for joining. We're just going to give everybody a few minutes to jump on. So excited to have the incredible Audrey Washington and her wealth of knowledge this evening. Audrey, I have to tell you, so many people were excited for this. Everybody was so excited about this particular workshop. I started getting questions before the workshop even started. Yeah, it, absolutely. As always, I have my young tech support surrounding the area in the event. Absolutely. This is great. So again, just you know, I try to give everyone a couple of minutes. I am aware that there was a couple of okay. Um, can we just want to do another sound check? Can you, Audrey? Can you do me a favor? Can you just give me a quick? I can hear you. Um, we're just testing one. We're testing on the back end while we're waiting for everyone to join. Okay. So again, so excited to have the wonderful Audrey Washington here. And Audrey, I'm loving that sign behind you, the "Don't Quit." Yeah, there was a poem I used to have memorized. When things go hard, and they always will, you know the "Don't Quit." I don't know if I still have it memorized, but we're gonna give guys thank you just one more minute. You can't. There's okay. So we're technical support. Hold on, we're working with tech support. Let's see. Oh, okay, we're
Okay,
gonna give it one more minute.
all right. I'm gonna put my headphone on just in case.
Oh,
Um, I don't know. Sometimes the sound is.
yep.
Um,
On our side, it looks like we're here. We're
you
getting
can hear.
the meter that. Yep. So can let me just
Okay.
turn to tech support. Looks like I'm getting thumbs up from a tech support. So
Okay, so I
Yep.
guess Adrian
Good.
Carnan is the one that says she can't hear me. She couldn't hear
Okay.
me.
Okay. Yep. I'm getting thumbs up that they can hear you.
No, I see Tia is saying she can't hear me
That might,
either.
okay. That may, remember, that may be a little delayed. So
Okay.
we're, yep. So
Oh, okay. Tia said it's good.
yep.
Okay, Tia. Oh, good. Okay. Headset is better. Okay.
Remember that's delayed. So
Thank
um
you.
again, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. I always try to give at least 5 minutes for those individuals that may be having some technical difficulties. Technical difficulties is near and dear to my heart in this day and age. So, again, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight we have Audrey Washington joining us for session 4 of our Financial Freedom series, brought to you from Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Xi Chi Omega chapter, where we have April Wainwright as our president. We're excited again to bring you this series of workshops to just help educate our communities around financial freedom and building our financial legacy. I do have to start by giving our disclaimer over the over this second quarter. You heard from a few financial professionals, what we call our subject matter experts. However, the information that they are providing is not necessarily the views of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. With that said, please know that we take great pride in doing our research and choosing individuals that are not only tenured in their careers, but that are extremely skilled in the subject that they are discussing. So, with that said, let me just give you the lay of the land. I'll do a 2-second introduction into the wonderful Audrey Watt. I'll turn it over. She'll kind of build a little bit upon her experience. She'll go into her she'll then turn it over to questions, Q&A. Once we have Q&A, I will talk to her. I will share the questions that are shared with me from a couple of different here, and then um, we will finish the evening. We have a hard stop at 8 o'clock at 8 p.m. and that will be the end of our presentation. So let me just tell you a little bit about Miss Audrey. Audrey is the founder and CEO of Fiercely Financial Coaching. She has over 25 years of experience in the financial industry. She has she's an author of a book. She'll tell you a little bit more of her book. She's done numerous workshops across New York State. She is a pillar in her community. She's always doing customer service. And just most important, she just has a heart for finance. And, you know, Audrey and I haven't known each other for long. She was introduced by a sister of mine. And over the short period of time, she and I had the opportunity to work close
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
preparation. And so, one of the things that really stood out for me with Audrey is just her passion and her commitment to help. And so, um, without further ado, I will turn it over to Audrey. And Audrey, take it away. If I can also
Uh,
ask you just to share your screen.
yeah, I think it came off, so let me just bring it back. Hold on just a minute. I think it came off for some reason. All right. And then beginning. Okay. All right. I think we're good now, Nicole.
Awesome.
You see
Awesome.
it?
Yep. While you do your introduction,
Okay.
you bring up your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Okay, it's there. All right. Thank you so much, Nicole. And as Nicole said, we've been connected for the last couple of weeks, but I tell you, it's been really good, and it's always nice to just come together with someone where instantly there's like a connection. So I so appreciate that, and appreciate the tech support she has there with her. And I also just have to give a shout out to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the chapter here, but this is probably the third chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority that I've done a financial workshop for. And so I really want to thank you, ladies, for just your commitment to economic empowerment. I know that that's one of the cornerstones of what your sorority is doing for the community, and I just appreciate that. Every time I've done it for one of the chapters, it's always been free to the people who've attended. So I really do appreciate that. And certainly, as Nicole had reached out to me, I'm just appreciative that you're trying to give. So thank you so much for that. Um, as Nicole said, I've been doing this for a long time. And what I really want to say to people, and I'm so happy to be a part of this series, is that sharing the knowledge of financial education is so important, particularly in our communities, communities of color, where oftentimes we just don't get a lot of information around money and finance. And we also don't necessarily get good information all the time. So if you can, I'm just really encouraging everyone who is here tonight, and even, if you just watch the Facebook Live later on, please share one thing that that really resonated for you with your family and friends from this seminar. So we are going to talk about being part of the 700 plus credit score club. And just a little bit, Nicole went through, some things in my bio. My services, I do provide one-on-one financial coaching. I have a signature program, which is Financial Fitness Boot Camp, which is a group program, but I do it live. So you do have the opportunity to work with me. And then for your job, if you have a need for, if anybody is from HR or just would like to have this workshop come to you, I also do workshops for employees. Now, my areas are, financial goal setting, budgeting, savings, credit, dealing with debt reduction, as well as changing your money mindset so you can achieve your financial goals. I think the most important thing out of anything on my bio is that I really love helping people achieve their financial goals and create their own financial legacy. So that's really what I truly love about the work that I do. And I'm blessed to be able to work and have a business that I am passionate about the subject. I just want to, as a quick reminder, if people have not done their census, please take the 5 to 15 minutes that it will take for you to complete it online, and also share. You'd be surprised at how many people, family and close friends, that have not done so, don't really think it's important, but we know that it is. So if you can please just take, 5 minutes or so and just ask people about that in your circle. Um, Obviously, we are experiencing, many people are in some financial challenges because of what's happening with the coronavirus. I'm not going to talk a lot about that really tonight, but I do have two videos up on YouTube. One is called Beware of Scams, which is so important. I think there was someone in your series, I think I kind of saw, that talked about some scams as well in one of the sessions.
Yeah.
So important, because during this time, that is a lot, as soon as a crisis happens, scammers go into go into action. So check that out, as well as some spending tips that may help you during this time. And that's on YouTube, Fiercely Financial Coaching. So let's get started on, being a part of the 700 plus credit score. How do you get there? All right. So I actually had created a theme for this year. And my theme for this year was 2020 money moves. So what money moves are you wanting to make in this year of 2020? Now, yes, for sure, 2020 came in, kind of funky, right? In terms of this, serious pandemic and all of that. But I still want to encourage you that this is still a time that you can make some money moves. Yes, maybe you might be shifting from, what you had thought that you would be doing in terms of your money and finances this year, but you can still do some things and accomplish some things financially. So I really want you to not lose heart about that you can still make some money moves. And so whatever they are, and part of it could be, just laying out some dreams that you have in terms of financial goals. That might be where you start. So maybe, they might be some things that you want to handle and accomplish in the future, but you can still take some time now because most of us have some downtime, right? To decide, unless, you are essential workers, certainly, and we appreciate you. But for most of us, we have a little more downtime. So dream some big dreams, put it on paper, decide what you want to do, just let your mind flow, and then work out a plan to get yourself there. So I also try to encourage people to think about, certainly how do you stabilize yourself now in terms of your own money and finances, getting to where you want to be. And so that is truly important for you to do. But I want you to also think about that what you do today for yourself can actually leave a financial legacy for the generations to come. Now, oftentimes when we talk about any type of legacy, often it's around if you have children. So it certainly can be, you can think about financial legacy for your children, but even if you don't have children, there is still a way to leave a financial legacy, right? So it could be children in your family, it could be children in your community, it could be a cause, right? So if you're really into single mothers, right? So maybe there's a nonprofit that assists single mothers. You might want to leave a financial gift to them, right? So there's many different types of financial legacy. So I want you to think about that. I know my own financial legacy has been that I want to create a foundation to help people and pay off their debt, right? So oftentimes when people find themselves in a lot of debt, it kind of, hinders them from moving forward in the way that they want. So that's actually always been a desire of mine, to create this foundation and be able to, give people a second chance by paying off their debt. So I want you to just, as we talk about credit and as you leave the workshop, I want you to also think about, not just what you can do for your own finances today, but how you can build on that and leave a financial legacy for future generations. So I want to jump right into credit score. So, credit score ranges. So, when people start to think about credit score, so credit score has been around for probably, in terms of this numerical score, we're probably going back about 30 years in terms of a numerical score. Now, there's always been a scoring model that people have used, like lenders have used. In the past, they ranked them based on a letter grade, right? So if you had A credit, then obviously that was, excellent. Then it went all the way down from B, C, and D, right? And so there's always been a way for people to kind of lenders to kind of say, this person is very credit worthy. This person is kind of credit worthy. This person is not credit worthy at all. So that's always been around. The institution of the credit score, the numerical number, really has been in place to try to limit some of the discrimination around lending. Now, let me say try to limit, right? Because even though there are still things in place that still hinder people from moving forward with, getting types of credit that they want to get, but this credit score is in place to try to, hinder that a little bit, right? Not make it so pronounced, because it's really based on this number. So the credit score ranges from 300 to 850, right? So the higher the credit score, the better. most of us, the most common credit score name that we're most familiar with is the FICO score, right? So FICO. And that name really came from the company who created the credit scoring model, which was Fair Isaac Company, right? So they took the F in Fair, the I in Isaac, and then they just used the CO for company to come up with FICO score. So that's really the most common. People will ask, what's my FICO score? What's my FICO score? And you can hear that term. But there actually are many different types of credit scores, different names for them. But for purposes of this, the FICO score is the one that people are most familiar with. So let me break down how your credit score is calculated. So 35% of your credit score is based on payment history. So the biggest weight of the credit score is how you pay your bills. Okay, so 35% is based on that. 30% of your credit score, so let me go back to the payment history real quick. So of course they're looking at, do you make your payment on time every month? If you don't, how many late payments do you have? So if you have, just one 30-day late payment, but do you have multiple 30-day late payments? Do you have 60-day late payments? All of that starts to play in, right? To how they consider and factor in payment history. So basically they're looking for people that pay their bills on time. Okay. 30% of your credit score is how much you owe, right? So how much debt you're actually carrying. And really this is a percentage of how much debt you are carrying versus how much credit is available to you, right? So if you use the example, say you have a credit card with $1,000 limit, okay? So they really only want you to carry over a balance of no more than like 30% of what credit is available. So in that example of $1,000 limit, if you carry over a balance every month, they want you to carry over no more than $300. Okay, so if you're carrying over $500, $600, or maybe you're right at $1,000, then you will be scoring low in that area. So 65% of your credit score is based on payment history and how much debt you are carrying. Okay, so that's important. Now, with 15% is length of credit history. So if you're, young adult, you might get your first credit card. So maybe your first piece of credit is a student loan and then you get a credit card, right? So you won't score as high than, let's say, someone who is more established, might have been carrying credit for at least, 10 years. They're going to score a little higher in that. But again, that's just 15% of your credit score calculation. The other 10% is types of credit. And that's really looking at people who have a mixture of credit will score a little higher in this area. So if you have a credit card, you have credit cards, you might have a car loan, you would have a mortgage, you might have another personal loan, you're going to score a little higher than the person who just maybe has a credit card. Okay, so 10% of your score is the type of credit, or sometimes it might be stated as mix of credit. Now, it does not mean to score higher. So let's say you are the person who only has a couple of credit cards. You don't have to run out and get credit to boost up that 10%. Okay, as part of the calculation, time will typically take care of that, right? So typically as we move through life, we're going to get a car loan. Most of us will probably get a mortgage, right? So time will take care of that. So you don't have to run out and get more credit just to do well. Remember, 65% of your credit score is based on the first two things. And then lastly, 10% is new credit. And that's really around inquiries, right? So of course we don't go out anymore, but in the past when we would go to the store, particularly retail stores, you go up to the cash register and the two things they're going to ask you is for your zip code and do you want to open a credit card account today to get 10 or 15% off today's purchase, right? And so let's say you were at a mall on a Saturday and you shopped around and you went to three to four different stores, and you said yes to that, and all of them pulled your credit to assess you for that credit card that day. More than likely, that would bring your score down because that's too many inquiries in one day. Okay, so that's 10%. So you want to be mindful. What I tell people is there's definitely reasons where you're going to need someone to pull your credit. All right. So, if we're trying to get a car loan, a house loan, transact, maybe we're trying to rent an apartment, there's going to be reasons why we need people to pull your credit. The problem for you is you just want to be mindful to not have a lot of pulls to your credit in a short period of time. Okay. So you want to make sure you do that. Now, in terms of one of the things people talk about too is, inquiries around getting a mortgage or renting an apartment or buying a car, right? So oftentimes you're shopping around for those things. And so there is a need for, more people to look at your credit history. So in terms of a car loan and a house loan, a mortgage, there is supposed to be a situation where if you get all of those pulls, let's say you go to three different car dealers or three different banks for a mortgage. If you get those in a 30-day period, it will merge those pulls. Okay, so it'll merge those inquiries into one. The problem though with that sometimes is timing, and I've had people where this has happened to, where they did shopping for a mortgage, and before the credit report merged the three inquiries, the final lender went and pulled their credit, and their credit score had dropped because of those three things. So what I tell people, even though in theory it's supposed to merge, you don't really know the timing of when those will merge into one. So it's always best in terms of shopping, get a copy of your own credit report. It is enough for discussion as long as it's no more than like 2 weeks old. So 2 to 3 weeks old. And then once you use that, and then once you decide, okay, this is the lender, let that one lender pull your credit report. So again, I'm definitely not disputing that in theory it's supposed to work one way, but sometimes the timing could work against you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep moving. Okay, so 4 tips. So if you want to be a part of the 700 plus credit score club, and I use 700 because that means you have a good score, you're going to actually be able to get lower interest rates and different things like that. And pretty much if all other things are equal, be approved for the credit that you're trying to get. Now, again, other things still have to come into play because some people, even if you have good credit, you could be at 750 even, but if you don't have enough income for the debt you're trying to get, then that still will have to be factored in. So you still could have a good credit score and still be declined, but it wouldn't be for credit. Okay. So in terms of, so let's say all the other things are in place, but what you're trying to get in place is a higher credit score. So these are some of the things that you can do. Okay, so we talked about this 35%, right? So it really is important to make payments on time. And I know for some of you, you might be thinking, particularly in this time where you may be challenged with your income, you're thinking, how do I do that? It's a struggle. And I get that. So if it is a struggle for you, then you might not be able to focus on this part at this time. Okay. So again, everybody's situation, this is a general class. And so everybody's situation, you got to look at your situation. And if it's different, and it will be good. Okay. And so you might have to adjust based on your situation, but we're kind of talking in general terms. So when at all possible, you want to make your payments on time. You want to make your payments on time. Now, remember, the largest percentage of your credit score is based on payment history, right? So you want to make sure you pay on time every month, okay? Every month. And it is really important. Let's say you are behind, right? You want to focus on creating a plan to bring your accounts current, right? And so maybe you have 4 pieces of credit and you can't really bring all 4 of them current. That's okay. start with the one that you can bring current. So if it's one that you can bring current, bring that one current and focus on keeping it current. So even though the other three are still past due, even having that one will start to strengthen your credit. Okay, it won't maybe get it right away to the 700 because the other, two or three are still past due, but it will start to strengthen it. So that's what you want to do. You want to focus on that one. Once you can bring that one current and keep it current, start on the second one. Okay, because what happens is, particularly when people sometimes are past due, everybody is calling, so they kind of have a moratorium on that now, but because of the pandemic. But in real time, everybody is calling. So if you got four pieces of credit and they're all past due, everybody is calling. They don't care about the other three, they just want their money. And so you're trying to navigate, I got to try to figure out how to make all of these three, four places whole. You can't do all four. So try to focus on the one and then try to focus on the next one and so forth. So it will take time, but if you're consistent, you'll get there. All right. All right. And so definitely you want to be consistent with making the payments on time. And even for those of you who might, feel like, I don't want to, get into how do I strengthen my payment history? I'm not making big payments. Remember, the payment history is calculating whether it's a paid on time payment or not, whether you're paying $20 payment or a $200 payment. The amount doesn't matter. Okay, the amount does not matter. So as long as you're making that payment, whatever the required payment is, that's what's going to show you, help you to strengthen in that 35%. Okay, of what goes into the calculation. So you also want to focus on reducing your debt. So when I do debt-free boot camp, that's all I'm talking about. I'm talking about everybody in there is trying to reduce debt. And remember, debt doesn't mean that you can't pay everything, right? So many people have debt. Most people have debt, right? Most people have some type of debt. So the people who, bless you if you're already debt free, but most people have some type of debt. And even if you're paying everything, always understand with debt that if you can reduce it or eliminate it, that means you have money to put towards something else. Okay. So that's really all it is. So just saying that you want to be debt free doesn't mean that you're struggling. It just means that if I can pay off this car or, even pay off my home early, I can have more money to do what I want to do. So you want to reduce your debt. That's definitely a way. So remember, the second biggest percentage of the credit score is based on how much debt you're carrying. So the more debt you're carrying, the lower that you will score in this particular area. So again, it's about what credit is given to you versus how much of that credit you use. So if you think about a car loan, so if you get a car loan and it's you just get the car loan, then you're going to score lower in that area because the amount of the original balance of the car loan and the current balance of the car loan is going to be pretty much the same for a period of time until you start paying it down, right? And so time will take care of that. So that's why really in this particular area, it's the credit cards where you have the most control, right? If you get a loan, time has to take care of that. Unless you can accelerate that loan and start to pay it down early, that's just going to take time. But the credit card is about how much you're using the card and keeping a balance so you can be in control of that. All right. And so again, you don't want to carry any more than 30% of the limit on the card, right? So again, using the example, $1,000 limit, you only want to carry over $300 balance. Now, let me say, so I have only 7% there. So the first thing is, before I get to what that 7% means, is that really what I try to encourage people to do, and again, everybody's situation is different, so you got to do what you need to do. But really, truly for credit cards, and this is what I tell my college students, is that you really only want to charge on a credit card what you know you can pay in full when that bill comes in next month. That's really a good rule of thumb because I have to tell you, I look at a lot of people's credit reports, and the quickest way for your credit to get away from you is with credit cards. Okay. And again, there's no judgment around that. It's just a fact. Because everyone has good intentions. I'm going to charge this $100 and I'm going to pay it off in full when it comes. Then the bill comes in and you're like, "Ooh, I got something else to pay," right? And so then you only pay the minimum, and then the next month it's kind of the same thing, and it can snowball when you blink. I mean, there's probably people out here when you blink and you realize, "Oh shoot, look at my balance," on the credit card. So you really want to try to keep that in mind if you can. Definitely at this point, let's say you can't, you already are carrying over a balance, try to not add to it. Okay. And that would be something I talk about in the boot camp as well. Now, why I have this only 7%? Because I read somewhere that the people who are like in the 800s with their credit score actually only carry over 7% of the limit. Okay. And so that really means, if you think about it in $1,000, and I don't do math well in my head, so I'm gonna get my trusty calculator. That means that if there's $1,000 limit, they're only carrying over $70, which means for the most part, people who are in like the 800s are not carrying over a balance. Now, just so you're clear, as long as you keep your credit cards open and active, you don't have to carry over a balance. Okay. So so let's say you don't want to carry over a balance, but you do need to maintain the payment history on that card. You charge something like, maybe it's your Netflix account that you just have automatically billed to that credit card. Again, it's not about the amount. So as long as you pay that, $14.99 or whatever it is, $12.99 for Netflix every month, that will keep that card open and active. So that's the key. So you want to keep your cards open and active, but you don't have to keep a balance on the card. Okay. So you can keep the cards open and active. You can use the card. And there's also too, some people want to keep their cards, use their cards for points. That's fine. But again, your goal should be pay the card off when you get the bill. Okay. I'm just going to do a time check. Oh, I got to keep it moving. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So limit your inquiry. So we talked about that too, why that's an issue. Okay. And so we're talking about what they call hard inquiries or hard pulls. That means you authorize someone to get your credit report, right? So it's a lender for a mortgage, it's a car, it's somebody you're trying to rent. That means it's not these promotional things, right? So promotional things that say, come in the mail, you've been pre-approved, is not that. Okay. So it's not those, but the ones where you actually say, yes, I want to be considered for this debt, then those would be on your credit report. So again, not too many in a short period of time. Okay, we talked about that. And then the other thing too, which I think some people forget, is review your credit report for errors. Okay, review them for errors, because sometimes you have errors on your credit report that also can bring your score down. So everyone should, review for errors, dispute any errors, and everyone should get a copy of your credit report for free from annualcreditreport.com. Okay, so you can do that every 12 months for free. It gives you just your credit history for free, your score. There is a fee for the score, but many of you, if you get your score from like your bank account or another credit card, that's enough to, at least give you a benchmark on where you're at. I will say though, with that score, is not going to be the exact same score that a lender would give you when you went to apply for credit, but it will at least give you a benchmark if the score is going up or down. All right, so these are the 4 tips. Again, make your payments on time, reduce your debt, limit your inquiries, and review your credit report for errors. Okay, so I'm gonna have you think about, again, what are the money moves you want to make this year. Again, even in this time, there are things that you can do. One of the big things about change around your money is making sure you have a positive mindset. I would say also forgiveness, because if you have made some not so great financial choices in the past, and it has impacted you. And maybe you're still feeling the effects of it, right? Maybe co-signed a loan for somebody, and they didn't pay it, and so you're still paying it off, or your credit has just been, impacted by it. And so sometimes we also need to forgive ourselves for those things, right? Something we did we shouldn't have done, something we should have done we didn't. And so forgiveness is important, and taking action. If you do those three things, if you keep a positive mindset, if you forgive yourself for any, things that you've done in the past that have negatively impacted your finances, and you take action, things will change. Okay, but it will take time, and it does take consistency. This is how you can reach me. Okay. Um, and I think I'm pretty sure that's the last slide, so I'm not going to click it. All right. So that is about 700 plus credit score, and the things that you can do.
Well, thank you so much, Audrey, for such great information. One of the things that I will ask you, as you were giving your presentation, I just thought about it. We're in
Hmm.
during this pandemic, a lot of people are suffering from whether it's job loss or loss of income, and a lot of the credit companies, those companies that they have credit, are extending deferreds. They're extending. Can you talk a little bit about that? One, just to make people aware that they can reach out to those companies that they have credit with, and ask for some type of adjustment and different type of adjustments. And then what impact does that have to the credit score? Can you just take a couple of seconds to talk about that?
Sure. So, it's definitely some things in place through the CARES Act, right? That's the overarching act that has, talked about the unemployment, the stimulus, and all of those different types of things, the small business assistance, as well as, what's happening with credit, right? And so, in terms of credit cards, so credit cards are offering. A payment relief program. You can ask for that. So, with all of this, though, with the credit card companies, with your mortgage lenders, you do need to, say specifically that the impact that you're having, not being able to pay, is due to, the pandemic. Now, it doesn't mean that you are sick yourself. It could be, right, and hopefully not. But basically, it just means that you've had some impact around it. So maybe it's around job loss. Maybe it's not that you've lost your job, but you've had a reduction in hours. So in terms of this, they are not supposed to, if you are approved for that, but you do need to be approved. That's the other thing. So unfortunately, it's not a blanket law where it's automatic that you get these extensions, this assistance. Okay, so it's not automatic, but if they approve you, they are supposed to not be reporting anything negative on your credit report. And so that is a good thing, but you do have to call and ask. So it's not like they're going to look at your credit card payment account, or your mortgage account, and just automatically see, oh, Audrey didn't make the payment, and so we're going to just go ahead and put this forbearance in place. No, it is something you have to call about. So what you do need to make sure that you understand the terms of whatever is being offered. I think that's really key. So definitely you have to call. I know early on when this was happening, like April, it was hard to get through, right? Because everybody was calling. And so, I know people are having better luck now calling in and asking for this, and this, requesting this assistance. So I think the first thing is you have to call. Second thing is, if they approve you, and again, it's not just automatic, but if they approve you, they are not supposed to be reporting negatively on your credit. And then thirdly, you do want to make sure of what happens, how are they handling the missed payments, because um, they may still be accruing interest, right? So the payment, although you're not required to make a payment, is the interest still accruing? And then once you, let's say it's in place, it's supposed to be for 3 months. What happens after the 3 months? how are the payments supposed to be made up? Okay, because again, it's not forgiveness, it is forbearance. They're going to just, do away with the payments. Forbearance means they're going to, hold off the payments. Now, sometimes what happens is, um, particularly with banks, oftentimes, and it's not all of them, right? Because they all have the autonomy to do whatever they want to do, right? It's not going to be across the board, but sometimes it's a forbearance initially, and then when this is actually over, and you say, "Hey, okay, I can start making my regular payment, but I really can't afford to pay, anything extra towards the 3 months that were pushed to the side," then they may put that amount to the back of the loan.
Right.
Okay, but you just have to ask, and you have to write down what they're saying, and ask them to also send it to you by email so that you have documentation of that.
Yeah.
And
the reason why I asked you to talk a
little
little
just
just about
about
that is because we just don't want people to think that the 3 months disappear. Right.
Yeah.
And then the deferral, once it's deferred, most of the time it's not the decision of the bank. They then have to wait for Fannie Mae to give them the approval. So just more information, like we said,
Mhm.
communication.
Yes. Yes.
And just educate yourself as much as possible.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would also add, if they say something to you that you don't understand, if they have to repeat it 2 times, 3 times until you're clear what they're saying to you, make sure that happens. Don't feel like you should never walk away from conversations like this, really any conversation, but particularly around your money, and not be sure and be, embarrassed to get clarification. So please, make sure they need to make sure that you understand what's going on.
Okay. All right.
I think I'm giving you a little bit of, I'm giving guys a little bit of echo.
Okay.
Looking at my tech support, give me thumbs up. Are you still hearing the echo? I would sing a little song for you. It might help my voice with the echo. It's still an echo. Okay. So I am going to still give just give me one second. We'll check with the echo. I just want to go through some of the questions.
Okay.
The echo is definitely from me. So I'll ask my questions quickly. And hopefully tech support will work on it while I'm giving you an opportunity to answer the questions. So the first question that I have, it says, it's regarding the hard inquiry and the soft inquiry. The difference.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Pull versus a soft pull. What's the difference?
Okay, so let's start with the soft inquiry or a soft pull. When you get something in the mail from a credit card company that says you have been pre-approved for a credit card, that is considered a promotional or soft pull. So what it means is that they have done like a cursory look at some things in your credit, okay, but not fully enough where it shows up as a full inquiry. Okay, so they've looked at certain things. Okay, so that's the soft part. Now, if you look at that, as long as you don't accept it, there's no issue, right? There's no real impact to your credit score. At the time that you look at that promotional inquiry and you say, "Hey, yeah, I would like to try for that credit card," then it becomes a hard inquiry, because then you're authorizing them to fully look at your credit. So that's the difference between the two. Things that you're authorizing. You're authorizing the car dealer. You're authorizing a bank. You're authorizing a potential landlord. All of those things are what people, organizations that you say, "Yes, I want you to look at my credit so that I can be considered for whatever I'm trying to be considered for." Okay, so that would be the difference between the two.
Great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. So I just want to make sure the echo is not there. Second question is, Are credit repair services worth the expense?
Okay. So
I know.
why did you ask me that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me say this. So let me start off. There are people out there that are in credit repair business, and it's probably somebody on this webinar. So I don't want to down anybody's business. Okay, I think for me, the stance that I take, and I'm going to just tell you what I do. All right, so I'm not going to say I'm not going to say anything probably about that. Probably won't answer the question well, but let me just tell you what my thing is. My thing is when someone comes to me for what people say is credit repair. Oftentimes they are coming to a person, or myself or someone else in the industry, because they are trying to um, get like a quick, what I would say, a quick fix to their credit situation. Okay. And for me, I want people to change their habits.
Mhm.
And because what I know for sure and what I see often is if you don't stop and think about how you got here and try to change some habits to, make sure you don't get there again, um, you will get there again. Right. And so it's really important to me that people do everything they can to change habits. In terms of service, right? So there's a lot of services. Let's look at cleaning the house, right? So I can certainly clean my house. I have the skills to do it, but I don't like to do it. So I may pay somebody to do that service. And so similarly, sometimes with some of the credit repair, people who say they do credit repair, which I don't say I do credit repair. I say that I help people reestablish good credit. So I never use the term myself for credit repair, but people who do that, one, they have knowledge about, how to, write the letters and dispute the things and different things like that.
Mhm.
I just feel like, do your homework. If that is somebody that you would, let's say you just feel like, I don't want to navigate that. It's okay to pay somebody that can help you with that. So, like I said, for me, I try to help people reestablish good credit. I don't necessarily want to repair, because oftentimes that means people want a quick fix so that they can, possibly get some type of loan or something like that.
Awesome. Is paying more on your credit card good?
Um, if I think I understand the question. So if
So
you
that's
know, I said I think I'm understanding the question. I'm just going to assume this is what the person is asking. So if
that's
you,
from Douglas Bradley. Doug, if you could just, if you want to just clarify or add a little more, because I want to make sure you want me to go into the next one and he comes.
he'll come back. Yeah, I think he's asking maybe paying more than the minimum balance. Maybe that's the question. But you want to come back, give him a chance, and then go to the next one.
Yep. So, what's the most important thing to focus on after bankruptcy? That's
Oh, okay, okay. So after bankruptcy, you definitely have to focus on, reestablishing good credit. Okay, because bankruptcy, you definitely take a hit on that, especially a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is the most common. And so you do have to focus on reestablishing good credit. So you have to, and so sometimes when people have had some credit issues, particularly if you've gone through a bankruptcy that's pretty major, or something like that, oftentimes they're like, oh, I never want to get into debt again. Well, the problem is you have to get into debt to show that you have changed how you practice with with credit, right? Because now the only thing that's out there is the bankruptcy. And so you really don't have the luxury at that point to now not try to get your credit back on track beyond the bankruptcy. So the first thing is you want to try for a credit card, okay? Just a regular credit card. You can try, there's some out there, and I'm not necessarily going to promote any, but you can Google those that, there are some credit card companies that will provide you with a credit card, even if your credit is not so great, even out of a bankruptcy. So you do want to try to get your first credit card. But it is important when you get that first credit card after bankruptcy that you do not mess it up.
Yes.
You have to, but you do have to use it, because that's the only way that you're going to start establishing a strong payment history after bankruptcy. Okay. Typically, although your bankruptcy will stay on for 10 years, you can start reestablishing credit around the second year outside of bankruptcy. Okay. And so once you hit that 2-year mark, you want to start trying to get that credit card, but you got to use it. But when I say use it, again, charge something for $20, $25 as soon as the bill comes in, pay it off, but keep consistent with that. So if you are trying to rebuild after a bankruptcy, you do have to use credit. You can't just throw your hands up and say, I don't want to do it again. And I know it can be scary, right? Because filing bankruptcy is not easy, right? It takes something out of you to do that. And so sometimes people are gun shy, but you have to start to reestablish in a healthy way.
Okay. So we have, is paying up or paying more on your minimum balances to close out your balance faster? Is that a good practice?
So it depends, right? So sometimes when people ask this question, should you try to reduce your debt, or should you save, right? And you really have to be doing a combination of both. It is important to have some savings, right? Because if something comes up, something unexpected, you got to have some money. So you don't want to you don't want to, be so focused on debt reduction, which is still it is important, but you don't
Mhm.
want to be, so singularly focused on that you know, totally negate saving. So you have to strike a balance and do both, right? So try to make sure you are consistently saving so that you start to build that up, but also make a plan for, reducing debt, and focus on the debt one debt at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
hmm
Good. We're getting close, but I'm going to ask a few more.
Okay.
How long does a hard increase stay on your report? I
That's about 24 months.
Okay. Does Fiercely Financial Coaching offer free consult?
Yeah. I do a half an hour um, free consultation. So if you see my email on the screen, you could email me and
And we'll have a fact.
ask me about that.
We'll have a fact sheet with your info, with some of the facts and your information where they can
Okay.
contact you.
But yes.
Okay. If you have a credit card for more than 5 years, should you ask for an increase in your credit line, or should you wait for the bank to offer you an increase?
Um, well, I mean, what would be, I mean, I guess it would need to know, what's the reason for the increase? Do you need it so that so if the increase is just so that you have it out there, which again, and I can't get too technical because we don't have a lot of time. So let's say you have let's say you just brought a car, and so that the car loan, the original loan and the current loan is going to be about the same, and so that might bring your score down slightly, and you want the increase to try to show that you have more available credit, then that's kind of a strategy you could do. But if the increase is really just so you could charge more, you know i I think you would just have to figure that part out. Like, why would you want to, what's the reason for the increase, whether they give it to you or whether you're trying to ask for it yourself. What's the reason?
Yes.
What's the reason?
So we're going to make that the last question.
Okay.
I want to take the time again to thank you, Audrey, for your time. Thank you for your commitment to the communities that we serve. Thank you just for sharing. We truly, truly appreciate you. Again, we will have a fact sheet up with just some of your questions. The questions that were not answered, we'll give you an opportunity. We'll share all your social media. Again, the name of your book is Transform Your Money Mindset. Your money mindset, simple steps for financial fitness. So that information we'll have both on our Facebook page and also on our website. So again, thank you for your time. Truly appreciate it. Our next we're working, we're really winding down with our series. It will be our session, it says 3, but our session number 5 will be 6 on June 2nd at 7 p.m. We have the Pinnisters that will be talking about home ownership and the importance of home ownership. When we talk about building our economic legacy, how important it is to have real estate in your portfolio. And so we really are looking forward to that. Again, trying to stay on task and on time. I want to thank you again. I have to, end again by saying the views that you hear are not necessarily the views of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. However, we do take a lot of time to vet the individuals that are presenters, and we appreciate all the information they share. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Have a good night, evening.